Hey friends, it's Carrie from Stretch Tea. Uh, it's Carrie from my house today. I'm doing this video from home today because I had a massive asthma attack this week. I didn't even know I had asthma, and so I ended up in the emergency room and then the hospital and learning how to breathe. What? Crazy. I'm feeling better, but no leg day stretch today, and I think I'm going to take a break from arm day stretch this week too, and we'll get back to it next week. I've been really feeling called recently to revisit some of my information in the Life Renovations course, which is a course that I did, which is all about this mind-body connection and approaching your life, not just from the top down, like from your brain down, but from your body up. And that's the whole idea of Life Renovations, is to find this balance between what's actually happening physically and what's happening mentally and spiritually, and putting those things together to live your best life. And today we're going to talk about the law of health, which is really far towards the end of the course. So there may be some things that are a little confusing as I read this through, but take what you want, what resonates, and leave the rest. I'm actually going over this one mainly because I need to hear it just as much as any of you guys do, I'm sure, after having quite an interesting week. All right, so here we go. All right, so one of the main principles of life renovation is that you yourself are the ultimate authority over everything that happens to you in your life. You know that your thoughts plant seeds, and those seeds grow into conditions. And sometimes those conditions are awesome, and sometimes those conditions aren't exactly what you wanted. Now, this isn't to say that you can create everything in your world. You can't look at the sun and be like, hey, it's too hot in here, because that affects other people, right? And other people's things affect you too. So it's not really how the universe works. There's kind of this give and take, but what you put out reflects back to you for sure. In the case of illness, we oftentimes feel very powerless, but I'm going to tell you a little bit today about how your immune system works and how you ultimately have the power to heal yourself. So first, let's talk about what it means to be healthy. To be in good health means to be at peace in your body and your mind and your spirit. Now, I chose the word peace for a really good reason, because the definition of peace itself is quietness and the absence of war. Let me say that again. The definition of peace is quietness in the absence of war. So when you're in perfect health, your body finds a state of tranquility. When you're sick, your body's at war against a pathogen or a virus or a disease, and that thing has infected your body, and so your immune system starts fighting the virus to push it out. No different than if a country was invaded by another country, the country being invaded would build up their forces and they would fight to push that other force out of their country. It's basically what your body does when it's sick. Now, life is sustained by two main functions. Those functions are construction and waste removal. Now, the first is cell construction, and for that we need to take in and use nutrients. Now, of course, you want to take in good food that properly fuels you. Now, these days it seems like there's a lot of new superfoods coming out, and new diets and new ways of eating, and that will save you from all sorts of diseases. I'm a really big fan of healthy eating. You guys know that if you know me very well. But the main reason for you to eat healthy is to have fuel for cell construction. That's it. I mean, you are building cells constantly, and the cells that you're building every single day, your body recreates itself all the time. Those cells are being constructed based off of how healthy you were eating. So you want to make sure that you're fueling yourself with the right food so that you get rebuilt tomorrow a better version than you are today. The second way that our life is sustained is by getting rid of waste. Now, we have to get rid of the things that we don't use. We take in a lot of food and nutrients, but we don't need all of it. We need food, water, and oxygen. All the other things that get put into our body just accumulate. So we need to get rid of those byproducts, basically. Without our body's little sanitary workers inside taking out the trash, then we would literally be full of garbage. And a lot of us are. So when waste material accumulates to a tipping point in our body, then we become ill. Now, the illness can be local and it can cure itself, or it can be cured by certain medications or whatever, or it can become bigger. And that causes a full body immune system response. It's a war. Your body has created a war. And when you're at war, nourishing foods and tonics help us to rebuild and can strengthen our immune system, but we need more. We need a working army that's led by a strong and a calm mind. So if you want to be healthier, which I think we all want, I mean, that's pretty important, then you have to examine your method of thinking. Your entire existence, your personality, your environment, your talents, your physical condition, they're all results of your past thinking and your past experiences. Every thought that you think produces an impression on your mind. And when it's accepted as true by your soul, by your being, then your subconscious mind starts acting on that truth. The problem is that each thought will attract similar thoughts. And before you know it, you've created an epidemic of negativity in your body if you're continuing to think of negative things. Like if you're thinking about disease and sickness or obesity or weakness or failure, guess what you get? You have to analyze your thoughts and change them, or you'll get exactly what you're asking for. In order to be healthy, you have to be willing to think healthy thoughts. And what is health? Well, health is peace in your body. And what is peace? Quietness, right? Quietness. Your mind is in complete control of your body, every single part of it. I fully believe that. And we talk about this in Life Renovations. It's called the law of vibration. We know that our thoughts are vibrations. That's why we call them brainwaves. Like they're actually vibrations, and you can see them on charts and graphs, right? We communicate to our body through our subconscious mind. Each and every cell is intelligent and listens to the commands of your mind and the cues that it's getting from its environment. You're using this power each and every day, every single day. And just like your heart is beating right now, or your nerves are functioning, or your eyes are seeing, or your ears are hearing, you have all these little things in your cells called macrophages, and they look like little Pac-Men, and they're just eating away all the waste materials and taking those waste materials and putting back into your bloodstream. And they wash through your liver and your kidneys, and you literally flush them down the toilet. I mean, that is what our body does. It excretes waste. It gets rid of all that junk. And the more at peace you are, the easier the scavenger process is. And you know this because when you're stressed out, your digestion suffers. Digestion is not just food passing through you. The quality of your digestion reflects the quality of your inner self. An unhappy gut isn't just a sign that you ate something bad. It's a sign that your body isn't in a healthy place to process it. In the same way, your body can't process heavy emotions when it's working to digest food. This is why some people constantly eat at funerals, because when they're full, they don't have to process emotions. Or why some people can't eat for days if they're feeling shame or guilt or stressed out, right? Stress can cause a breakdown in your scavenger system, and it's a sign that your immune system's compromised. Now, in my situation, I've been struggling with bronchitis, sinus infections, colds. I mean, I swear I was catching everything that was around me, one on top of the other, which culminated in so much inflammation in my lungs that I wasn't able to expel air anymore. Like I wasn't able to expel the carbon dioxide that I didn't need. My body wasn't able to get rid of that. At the same time, I had multiple times during this stage where I would try to eat and I'd get incredibly nauseous for no reason. I didn't have any reasoning behind it. I thought maybe I was just like stressed out or anxious or just not hungry, but there were times when I was like, wow, I feel like I could throw up. I better not eat right now. That was my body clearly giving me a cue that's like, hey, dude, you're at war. We've got something going on here that's not good. Something needs to change. But busy with work, busy with my schedule, trying to get so many things done. It's just a stressful time for me. So where I'm like packing too many things into my life and pushing and pushing and pushing, and not necessarily getting done what I need to get done from a quietness and a peace mindset. Stress causes a breakdown in your scavenger system, right? It's a sign. That is a clear sign. Like, hey, you're not breathing properly. You're not sleeping properly. That's another way that our body gets rid of junk, to dream. Isn't that amazing? Your subconscious unpacks all of the things and works through them at night. So if you're not sleeping properly, that's a sign that your body's not getting rid of the waste that it needs to get rid of. And of course, your digestion. If you're having digestive issues, it's a sign that your body's at war and something needs to be looked at. Now, it's hard for people to believe this at first, but if you take your own experiences into consideration, you know that if you're truly happy, when you're doing great things, when you feel really courageous, noble and kind, when you feel love, your body feels really good. Good vibrations in your thoughts create good vibrations in your body. So everything functions properly. I mean, I can guarantee you, like the last time you were really truly happy, you also didn't have a stomach ache, right? It just doesn't happen. Now, on the other hand, do you know that when your thoughts are full of anger and jealousy, envy, hatred, shame, grief, frustration, you feel like a heavy pit in your stomach. You could probably even create it right now if you thought about something that made you feel like that. You know, when you're stressed out, your digestion isn't functioning properly. We know this. So these negative vibrations cause inharmony in your physical body. By turning your thoughts to positive vibrations, you can remove the pit from your stomach, and then your body starts to function properly again. Now, this seems pretty elementary. It's not as easy as it sounds. I mean, I'm trying to make it sound easy, but it's not easy to change your thought patterns so simply. This is true, especially when you're feeling really crappy. But we know that our conscious mind has an effect on our body. For instance, like say somebody says something to you that makes you laugh really hard. Like your whole body starts to shake and you cannot stop it. It's like laughing in church, right? Everyone says like, oh, it's the worst thing. It seems like it's uncontrollable and it's like you just can't make it stop. But all you need is like one sharp glare from your teacher or your mom and you're like, and you stop, right? It can make you stop instantly. In this example, you can see that your mind actually has control over your muscles, right? That's kind of cool. And another example, like say you watch a sad movie and you start crying. Now, some people, like specifically actors, can cry on command. Now, that shows us that our mind has control over the glands of our body because you can create tears with your thoughts. An even better example, say somebody says something that makes you so angry that the blood rushes to your face. Your blood pressure rising when you're angry is a clear sign that your thoughts and your emotions control the circulation of your blood. These experiences are all results of an action from your objective mind. They're temporary and they leave as soon as they started. One thing I noticed in the hospital that was really actually cool because I was hooked up to all these things, they were monitoring my oxygen levels with a little thing on my finger that kept track of how many times I breathed, I think in a minute, and then also the blood oxygen percentage, and also my heart rate. And I could see all of this happening on the board. And they would come in and, you know, maybe they'd ask me questions or I'd be talking or something, and my blood oxygen level would go down. And if I wanted to increase my blood oxygen level, I could actually inhale deeper and get more oxygen into my blood. Now, the other thing is that they were giving me all these steroids and things that were making my heart rate go up. So it was kind of cool to watch because I could see everything happening. Anytime that I felt like my blood oxygen level was getting low, and then I could take a bunch of deep breaths and I could actually see my blood oxygen level go up. I could make that conscious decision. What would also happen when I do that, my blood oxygen level would go up, my heart rate would also go up. And then I could make my heart rate go down by calming down and thinking less thoughts. That was actually a really cool thing to see, that I could actually slow down my heart rate instantly by changing my thought pattern, or I could change my blood oxygen level by changing my thought pattern. On camera. It wasn't on camera, but it was kind of cool. It was like I could see the stats as they were happening. It was really interesting. And then that was a temporary thing, and then they would go right back to what it was doing before. My subconscious would take over and do what it wanted, but I could change what was happening from an objective mind level. Subconscious mind is different though. It works behind the scenes and it doesn't have any rational thought. So you can decide not to laugh and not to cry or not to allow your blood to boil, but you can't decide not to start repairing your skin when it's cut. The subconscious mind is powerful and it starts a process of thousands of workers making sure that not only does the skin rejoin together, but the blood's clot in the right way and infections stay out of a cut. I think it's pretty awe-inspiring that our bodies can do this. I mean, I still think it's fascinating that bones can mend themselves. No surgeon can put a bone back together, but your own body can do it by itself, like pretty flawlessly, which is kind of amazing, and build a stronger bone than what you started with. That's fascinating to me. Absolutely fascinating. I was watching a movie, The Connected Universe. Oh my gosh, it's amazing. You should watch it. I'll see if I can find a link somewhere and put it in. They were talking about the interconnectedness of the universe and kind of trying to find a unified theory, saying that the insides of protons, the proton is like a black hole with the same properties as like the black hole in the universe. It like blows my mind. Super cool stuff. He was saying that it would take I think 1.4 trillion years for a person to put together a Rubik's Cube without any knowledge about it. And yet a Rubik's Cube is not even close to as complex as what's happening in the cellular functions of our bodies. And yet we come out with like our nose on our face and our ears on our head. Like it's amazing to me that we can be so organized and that our bodies can do so many amazing things. It's completely awe-inspiring. And anyway, it's a little tangent. But during this process, this scavenger system that I was talking about ensures that all your waste products, like old cells, any germs, potential infections, those all get removed. And this all comes from the subconscious mind without reason. It just gives every little construction worker a job, and they do it perfectly. Every second of every day, our immune system is working to keep our body at peace. I imagine it like a billion of little sanitary men and construction workers that are keeping my body in working order. I literally think of them like they're those little digger guys on Fraggle Rock. That's what I picture. If I could put a face to them, that's what they are. And as they do it, they're just singing and dancing and laughing and flirting and, whistling at the girl on the corner. I mean, it's a little happy little world, and everything's totally at peace if everything's running smoothly. The problem comes when we're invaded by a pathogen that we can't easily remove, like whatever's going on in my lungs, right? I was already stressed out, caught a cold, caught another cold on top of that cold, already had a problem, couldn't seem to get anything out, and I was stressed, and there's probably allergy stuff involved. And I found out that I was not allergic to dairy, but I think I am allergic to dairy, and I ate all the ice cream because it's delicious. I mean, there were a multitude of factions that just kept bombarding my upper respiratory tract, and my little workers working 24/7 cannot answer the call. So when you become really sick, your body goes to war, right? I've got all of these like invaders, and all these little guys, they stop singing. No longer are they wearing their little vests and their little hats, but they put on army uniforms and they get real serious. Now, if we look at it from another angle, imagine the moments before like September 11th in New York City. I'm sure life was just another normal day in New York. Construction workers are building things and garbage men are collecting garbage, and then tragedy hits, and suddenly collecting garbage isn't important. Like building houses, it just doesn't make sense. So not only did the entire city shut down, but the entire country froze, right? I mean, this was like, focus. This is war, focus, right? And we became completely paralyzed by fear and worry and anxiety. So all of our efforts went to one place, the site that needed the most help. The entire support staff of New York was at ground zero, and for good reason. It was disaster recovery, right? So during this time, nothing got built, and trash started piling up all over the streets. You don't usually see that when people talk about it, but I remember friends from New York being like, it's been weeks and there's so much garbage. Like the whole city smells like garbage because nobody was able to take that garbage out. And there's a good reason, because it just wasn't important at the time. It just wasn't the most pressing thing. So when your body goes in disaster recovery mode, your immune system does the same thing. It focuses really intently on the problem and ignores the day-to-day tasks. And this was happening in my inner world and happening in my outer world. I knew something was wrong, and I was getting all these signs. Like I hadn't done the laundry, I hadn't done the dishes, my house was a disaster, and then things started falling apart. I actually double booked a client. I'd never do that. It never happens. And it just like things started to pile up. So when your body goes into disaster recovery mode, your immune system intently focuses on the problem, and everything else falls to the side. Now, the bigger the disaster, the longer it takes for us to recover. So your job when you're sick, and I'm saying this to myself probably more than I'm saying to you, is to get yourself back to a peaceful state as soon as possible so that your immune system will work at its best instead of in disaster mode. The best way to do this is to rest, to think positively, and to fuel yourself with healthy food and water so that your body can do its job of healing you. We get in the way by ignoring our symptoms or by trying to mask them with medicine. I was putting everything in my body that I could. I was at the same time ordering out food, cheeseburgers, pizza, because I just didn't have time to think about cooking for myself. Because I was just trying to mask it. I was just trying to get through. Now, there's a time and a place for medication. I am all about it. I'm taking all the good stuff now. But going to work when you're sick, overworking when you're sick, and just taking a cold and flu medication is not going to help you recover faster. And in fact, you may end up in the same place that I was. Had I taken care of myself 6 weeks ago in a better way, maybe I wouldn't be sitting at home right now packed full of steroids, right? These medications only mask your symptoms. A runny nose, a cough, and a fever are all tools that your immune system uses to try to expel the virus from your body. Using medication to stop this process delays the process of healing. The only way to get back to a healthy state is to create as much peace as possible in your life with rest, with positive thinking, and good fuel. We recover from small disasters like colds and flus. You take a week, you get better, right? But what about chronic ailments? Like asthma is something I'm going to have to live with for the rest of my life, and probably something that I've been dealing with for a very long time. I also have fibromyalgia, you may know from some of my other videos. And that's a chronic pain thing. These are things that I'm dealing with constantly. So what causes life's ongoing ailments? Why are some people just constantly unhealthy? I really think it's just stress. Now, in my opinion, and in my experience, stress is the number one cause of all human ailments. Even with my clients who come in with pain, muscular pain specifically, because I stretch people and I teach stretching. But I would say that most of the issues are stress related. And once we get the problems figured out, the stresses also leave. Or sometimes it's like like the dog wags the tail or the tail wags the dog. Sometimes it's actually the stress in the life that's causing the problem. And once that stress is removed, then the problem removes itself. I can't tell you how many clients I've had come in with back pain and they either quit a job, leave a relationship, or something else big happens in their life. Some big stressor removes itself from their life. The pain goes away like that. It's like they're different people. It's fascinating. So stress, like I would say, is the number one cause of human ailments. Most of our day-to-day stressors are not natural disasters. Major disasters hit and recovery starts, but the day-to-day stresses put us in fight or flight mode all the time. We never get a sense of relief, but we're constantly in fear of the next thing that's going to happen. This happens in today's society with feelings of insecurity at work, problems at home, road rage, waiting in line, or just trying to keep up with the demands we've set on ourselves. Fight or flight response is just a primitive response from your subconscious mind. Everyone has it. I mean, even kids, like my nephews are little 6.5-year-old, little crazy little fun guys, but they're going through a stage right now where they're really trying to learn how to navigate fight or flight. And they're figuring out like how much force they can use or when to get upset. And they're, trying to figure out how this works. Fight or flight is just a primitive response. This is built into our nature. We learn or we don't learn how to manage fight or flight mode as children, really. And if you never really learn how to manage that tool, then it's hard to manage it later in life. And we tend to just stay in fight or flight mode. Way back in time, like if you were a caveman, we had predators. Like if you came across like a saber-toothed tiger on your way home from the watering hole, you had two choices. You could fight that tiger, or you could run away really fast. And your body would make that choice without being like, what should I do? It just does it. It just knows. Your body has those two things. Some people say too, the freeze response, fight, flight, or freeze. But I think the freeze response happens after fight or flight is like not an option. And your body makes that decision like super quick. So when that happens, you get a burst of adrenaline, which makes you stronger and gives you faster reflexes. All your vital energy goes towards fighting or running, and there are no other options. So when your body needs all that energy, your immune system takes a break. It goes on hold. It's like, hey, I'll get out of the way. You just run real fast. So the little workers just stop. And it's not important to take the trash out when you're being eaten by a saber-toothed tiger, right? Like, it's not important to do the dishes when you might be dying, right? It's just not important. So back then, a run-in with a tiger wasn't really something that happened every day. Thank God, right? But unfortunately now, there are a lot of us who are in fight or flight mode just from driving to work and driving home. Like you, at least twice a day during road rage, you're going into fight or flight mode. That's like every 8 hours or something. And on top of that, you add in weird things with your boss, or, a fight with your spouse, or just having to wait in line, or the weird person on the subway, right? Like we get into fight or flight mode all the time, and your adrenals get really taxed because they're pumping out adrenaline, and you're just exhausted all the time. So your immune system just knows to stay out of the way, except when it gets called in for like major disaster recovery, and then it ignores the other stuff. So suddenly all this garbage starts to accumulate. Maybe you become overweight, you get low energy, you feel out of shape, your digestion isn't functioning properly, and you start to develop some more chronic ailments. So in my situation, I caught a cold, but I kept working hard. I ran into some issues. My website got hacked. That was very stressful. There were just like a handful of things having to deal with. Do I travel for Thanksgiving? Do I not? I played piano in a performance. Like there was a lot of things that were just packing in on top of being sick. I just wasn't functioning properly. And my asthma, which I think has been around for a really long time, but I've kept it at bay, just up it goes. People battle these kind of things in all kinds of ways. They do extreme workouts so they don't get fat. They do colonics to clean out garbage, right? You could try to just get it out manually if you can't do it regularly. They drink energy drinks, coffee, take stimulants to keep them awake. They're constantly on medications to mask symptoms without addressing the cause. And then your immune system hits this tipping point where there are way too many disasters to clean up, and you just don't have the resources anymore to heal you. I fully believe that this asthma issue escalated because my body was like, if you're not going to do this, we're going to make you do it. And I remember going in to my doctor on Thursday because I was just coughing a lot. I was really having a hard time. And I went in and I was like, what I really need is to just take a week off. And he looked at me and he was like, yeah. And I was like, I can't do it. I've got all these clients. I've got all these things. And then the next thing you know, I'm in the freaking hospital and I'm not seeing the clients and I'm taking a week off. So I'm getting this rest that I need. But it was like my body had to yell at me really loud for me to do that. And that's just dumb. I know better. And that's why I'm telling you guys, because if I already know better, then geez, come on, right? You might feel like you're at that point right now, but don't think that you're too far gone. You can reverse this process. Even more important, for those of you who are feeling stressed but are still relatively healthy, you have the ability to stop the process right now. When you find the cause of your stress, you can change the effect and find peace in your body, which will lead to optimum health. Your cells are really intelligent. They really are. They're way more intelligent than you. They're way more intelligent than anyone else. Your cells are so intelligent. They are creators and they're striving for harmony constantly. They are in harmony, though, with your thoughts. So if your thoughts are negative or stressful, then your cells will vibrate in harmony with those thoughts and they'll start to act similarly. But if you think peaceful, positive thoughts, your body will respond with health. Many doctors treat diseases with surgery and medications. And if they're addressing the cause, yes, great. That's wonderful. If a doctor can speed up the process, don't waste your time. Get to the doctor. Yes, I fully appreciate that. But I think many of us are not aware that we can speed up the process as well. Healing is not a passive endeavor. You have the power to boost your immune system all by yourself. You do this by finding peace. You do this by seeing the signs before it gets bad. 6 weeks I was seeing the signs and I wouldn't slow down. And I'm like, really, Carrie? Now I'm like $1 gazillion in medical bills. I'll figure that out later. But you do this by recognizing the war when it starts. No amount of vitamins or fancy berries or kale is going to keep you healthy if you're constantly in a state of stress. It just won't work. Remember, the number one thing you can do for your health is to stop waging war on your body. Remember that peace means quiet, a break from war. You can find this by meditating, of course. You can find this by being present in the present moment. But I was doing all of those things and still stressed out about them. Sometimes you need to just take a break. Remove yourself from people, from places, and from events that are stressing you out, even if it's good stress. I love my job. I love my clients. I love the people that I work with, but I was overrun a little bit and I needed to calm down. I needed to take some time off. It's okay. The world's not going to end. Take some time off if you need it. Surround yourself then with people and places and events that fill you with hope and joy and love. I can tell you, after this week, I got home from the hospital and I just cried and cried and cried. And part of that, I think, was releasing the trauma of the weekend, and it was very traumatic. But also such a clear sense of the unconditional love that's around me, my family, the doctors, the pharmacist. There was this 80-year-old woman at the pharmacy who was so super sweet. And I was like, oh my gosh, there's love everywhere. There's love around me everywhere. The Uber driver. I mean, it was like there was love everywhere. And I still feel that. And I think that once you can find that place, your body can finally start to heal. And that means giving yourself time to find it. So I wish you the best, my friends. I'm on the mend. More stretching videos are coming soon. I love you all, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.